Hey everyone! Hello FACEIT fans, we're here for some more FACEIT action, live, nuage versus Ataraxia now. I've been taking a couple of days rest since the Dallas Major, did a big co-stream of all of that, so all of the FACEIT coverage is a little bit behind. Right after this, I've got the FACEIT summary for EMEA coming out because the state of play is really crunch time for round robin, which means there's now not a lot of games left. Top 8 is the important thing for all these teams. The two teams we're watching today, nuage and Ataraxia. Well, Ataraxia find themselves in a position where they've done a bit of a job for now. They're kind of just playing for seeding, so obviously keen to polish this one off with a win. Put themselves as high up as they possibly can be. nuage, on the other hand, are actually in real crunch time. So I can take you straight to... I think it's important we look at the table quite a lot today because it is all about the table and placement. So, as we can see, SSG at the top, as we would really expect. Ataraxia are 12-2. So, there's 15 games for every team of a round robin. So, one more for SSG. This is Ataraxia's final game. Ataraxia can finish on a 13-2 record. Obviously, Ents and Twitter's Minds have games in hand and can catch them, especially if they slip up today. So, for Ataraxia to give themselves a good chance of that higher seed, a win today is important, but the real battle, and this is a tall ask for nuages. nuage also only have one game left and find themselves on 7-7. And as you can see from this color coding from Wikipedia, 8 is the cutoff, right? So nuage currently find themselves just about in that top 8, but a win would go a long way. Obviously, some of these teams have a lot more games in hand. Some of these teams also have easier opponents. Ataraxia is the last game of the round robin is not an easy fixture to have. So nuage have a lot on their plate in terms of trying to handle this. So I think what's worth talking about is the teams. We're still a little bit away from the match. We've still got the countdown to the map bans and stuff, which we'll get into later. But I think it's important to talk a little bit about the teams themselves and what we expect from this series. Now, Ataraxia, if you're not familiar with them, they're really a team that is kind of the old ex-Oblivion core, but the most unique selling point... We can look at the roster, actually, while we talk about this. The most unique selling point is...
Thanks for the FACEIT League coverage.
Thank you, Winston Warlord. We can... Ataraxia's roster is double flex. That's the most sort of unique selling point of them. That's also been one of their biggest strengths and one of the big reasons they were able to upset a team like Ents earlier in this round robin. Obviously, this comes with limitations as well. It's not like Gala can't play Lucio or doesn't play Lucio, but it's obviously much weaker than he is on heroes like Alari and Kiri, which are really, really his go-to heroes. As such, it means they want to force that comp in a lot of places, and really, it has been like a big part of their success. I think especially Rajaro coming into this roster. We always talk about Rajaro because, well, he's probably the player with the least expectations coming into this because he was the newest player with the least experience, but he's performed very well. Meanwhile, Shockwave and Sauna really seem to have found very good form in this new roster. So lots of positives to talk about from Ataraxia, and I think when we look at the results of the Dallas Major and we factor in that, well, actually, because EMEA did so well at the Dallas Major, and they got those 2 automatic qualification spots from that major, there's 3 spots up for grabs on EMEA. So if you look at the table again, all of a sudden 3 spots, because these guys have booked their ticket to the Esports World Cup, all of a sudden it looks very good for Ataraxia and Twisted Minds and even Peps as well. But what it also means is all of a sudden for the teams who get in a 6th, 7th, and 8th spot, suddenly, if you make it into that final 8, you don't need to do something crazy like finish 2nd in the tournament or finish 1st or 3rd to get your spot. Well, actually, all you need to do all of a sudden is you need to finish 5th in the tournament to get your spot. So if I look at some of these teams, and the R8s for Quicks, for nuage, and I say, can they finish 2nd in this tournament? No chance. But if I look at some of these teams and say, could they upset Peps? I mean, nuage took a map off Peps, really pushed them all the way. It's actually really possible. So all of a sudden, EMEA, getting into this top 8, means you can take one of those spots. You can steal a spot to the Esports World Cup. And what a huge result that would be for some of these teams. I think for the most part, a lot of these teams we're looking at have been in and around top 8, sometimes in, sometimes out. Maybe the exception is R8 Esports, who had a very good OWCS Stage 2. But actually, these teams are fighting. If they can do something today, if they can get an upset in the top 8, they might just go to the Esports World Cup. Now, that's a few steps ahead of them, of course. There's still the game today. We talked a lot about Ataraxia's roster and how they're going from strength to strength. It's worth talking about nuage's roster as well, because nuage are a team that have a very unique style within EMEA, in the sense that they're actually a very dive-heavy team. And because of this, I think it's part of the reason, in a similar vein to how Ataraxia have found some success playing their own stuff, playing their own comp, I think nuage have found not quite as much success, but still some success. They play dive in as many situations as they can. I think Tama has really been one of the breakout performances on tank. And we sung Rajaro's praises earlier, but I think actually Tama on Winston really feels like next up. I think he's been super impressive, very much in the Winston mirror, very dominant. And playing dive here, I think it's a really nice matchup. We talk about comps that can be effective against Ataraxia. You can play like a Lucio version of the Brawl. And if you can clear their setup, you can play quite well. But also, what's really effective is dive. If you can dive in these teams, all of a sudden, if Gala is on the Alari and Kaneo's on the BAP, they're playing quite split, they're playing quite wide, they're trying to hold all these angles and hold this position, make it hard for you to push. If they're too split, you can just dive them. It really forces Kaneo and Gala to contract their formation, to play more within each other's peel range. It changes everyone's play style slightly, and I think it could potentially be very good for them. One of the problems they might run into a little bit is, while Dip has had some very good performances for his team, I think Echo is definitely his strongest hero, and I look at this double flex comp and I go, well, Echo's not straightforward when they're playing like the Ilari and the BAP and the Ashe, and as a whole shooting gallery that can take you out of the sky, so it's not straightforward at all for Dip. Obviously, he can play the Sojourn as well, which we might see him lean on here. The other thing that's maybe worth mentioning for both teams is one thing that always happens. This used to happen in Overwatch League. This used to happen, well, I guess mostly Overwatch League is the example, where if a certain meta appeared in Overwatch League, a lot of the other teams would then go, oh, these teams are having a lot of success doing that. Should we try this comp? Can we try this comp? And one thing we saw at the Dallas Major have loads of success was Mauga. Mauga comps are back, very aggressive, very dive orientated. Could we see nuage incorporate that? I think I look at some of those Mauga, Genji venture comps and go, well, actually, could nuage maybe doing this with a version of like Tracy? Tracy? I don't know who Tracy is. A version of Tracer Echo? Possibly, right? And maybe that allows nuage to play a comp that functions quite similarly to dive on maps that historically would be very hard to play something like the Winston into as well. Way back when, in the depths of OWCS, we actually saw Tama play some Mauga as well and have a lot of success on it as well. So it's really, I'd be really interested, not just with nuage, but also with Ataraxia if they lean into any of it as well. You know, it's not, I don't know how Mauga would necessarily function into their version of a comp with double flex, but certainly on some of these maps where they play Lucio, I think it's really possible that we could actually see Ataraxia tech into that version of a comp as well. I don't know if we've seen much of Rajaro's Mauga, so we'll have to keep an eye on that and see how they go. Could even end up with a Mauga mirror like we did in lots of situations. Maybe for a team like Ataraxia as well, with Sauna and Shockwave. Shockwave, one of the hit scans who has a few more flexible picks, a few more of those flex DPS heroes in his hero pool than a lot of other hit scans. So could definitely be one worth looking for. We're about a minute out from finalizing the lineup now, which means we should probably talk a little bit about the draft. Now, one thing that has gone so well for Ataraxia, if there's one thing that's gone well for Ataraxia, and there's lots of things, but one of the things is the draft. The draft always seems to go Ataraxia's way. Now, both teams have a very distinct style, which means also their respective map strengths and map weaknesses are normally actually in opposition here. A good example is the hybrid map where Ataraxia always ban Paricio. And nuage would love to play Paricio and they're able to play dive into that. But it's worth noting that nuage are the team on the left here, which means in this best of 3, we're going to get nuage picking map 1 and map 3. So Ataraxia are going to have to try and ban around that as well. And this puts Ataraxia in the weaker position in theory because they only get to pick one of the 3 maps. Where we've seen Ataraxia have a lot of their success is when they're in nuage's position. They get to pick map 1 and map 3, and a lot of the hybrids in map 2 are actually quite suitable to Ataraxia's comp. It's worth noting as well, currently in the lineup is Nut, but I very much expect it to be Zerion. He's the normal go-to person nuage using this situation, so he's been very good for him so far as well. So I expect he will be playing. I think there's going to be a big emphasis here on this map ban, and if nuage can find the correct maps. Typically, we see nuage mostly ban Busan, which I think again makes a lot of sense against Ataraxia, taking that map away from them. And then they mostly ban Midtown too. Alright, we go straight into it. So nuage with the first ban is normally Busan. Have done some Samoa recently as well, but against a team like Ataraxia, I'd very much expect it to be leaning the direction of Busan. The way this map ban and pick system work is we'll see the bans for both teams, but we won't see their pick until the very end, until all maps are settled because of how the FACEIT interface works. So we'll just have to deal with that, but that's okay. Expectation is Busan. Yeah, we go. Ataraxia, we very much expect them to ban Samoa. They always ban Samoa. There we go. And nuage, if I'm nuage, I'm probably keen to take him to Oasis. As much as Nepal is a map where Ataraxia play dive. Thank you to Big Yak. There's going to be a Parisio ban straight away out of Ataraxia, is what we expect. Midtown from nuage, which is the usual ban, which means Ataraxia gets to play Hollywood. They always get Hollywood available. They love to go to Hollywood, so I very much expect more of the same here from Ataraxia. Also, nuage have had a lot of success on Icon World on dive. It's the map they took off of It's the map they took off of Peps back in the day, so I would expect Ataraxia to stay clear of that one. Now nuage are going to ban... They normally ban Shambali, but they actually ban Junkertown, because Ataraxia normally ban Shambali. So Ataraxia ban Shambali as well, which does open up Route 66 for nuage, which is their normal pick, and obviously very suitable to dive, a very hard comp to play double flex on. So we're going to get Nepal, Hollywood, Route 66. And I'm going to get an invite to lobby. How kind of them. So we can jump into lobby right now. Let me just check my game sounds and such are suitable. Yeah, it's a bit quiet, isn't it? I'm feeling good about the number 42. It's the answer to a lot of things, and this occasion is going to be the answer to the in-game volume that we want. So, predictions going into this one. Ataraxia have to be favourites, right? I think the comp matchup is quite nice. I'm a little bit surprised that we're starting on Nepal. I think the other two maps for Hollywood pick for Ataraxia and the Route 66 pick for nuage very much felt like they went the way we would expect them to go. But the Nepal here is a slightly different direction. Nepal, obviously, you do get to force Gala onto Lucio in a lot of situations. But the problem with that is this is also on Nepal. They actually beat SSG, so getting a little bit of envy from the players about my level 5 endorsement. We can do a quick endorsement check. Knail the nicest person. That checks, I think. I think that checks. So Zerion isn't as we expect. We'll wait and see what we get comp-wise. Generally, this map is the most suitable one, I think, for double flex out of all of the ones we might see here on Nepal. But not straightforward at all either for it. It's one of those ones where double flex is really strong, but if you lose the first fight, the retakes are really hard. And it looks like we're in Amalgam Mirror. These guys have watched the Dallas Major. And it's going to be Venture Genji, Sorter on the Genji, Shockwave on the Venture. We talked about Shockwave flexibility in a lot of these situations. While Sharp, on the other hand, someone who has a very good Tracer, but someone we've not seen the same level of flexibility of. So here comes the Burrow, here comes the Slam, they force them all back. Hammer with the counter slam, Cardiac overdrive, traded out the choke. Sorter's trying to pile in, but the Tracer behind is causing Shockwave problems. They do lamp themselves here, trying to get themselves back out. Natsuki has made an early move, but has to be careful. Rajaro wants to go deeper, Sorter's going to double down. They overwhelm him. There was a point where Sharp had got good pressure on the backline, put Shockwave in a tricky position. Normally what you want to do if you're playing into this type of competition as Tracer is you want to put a lot of pressure on Sauna, Shockwave, try and poke them out, make their engagement very tricky before they actually come in. But with the nature of Venture, being able to burrow and go underground and not be poke-outable, and the Genji can just stage from main, it becomes a little bit tricky. We see Sharp initially trying to take some space on this right-hand side. Will force Sauna out here. Now the slam comes in. Kitsune Rush comes. Zirion is nowhere near that one in response, so they are just going to overwhelm at the choke. They have to run. They have to try and get out, but Tama will be overwhelmed. They turn and deal with Sharp as well, and they convert the ult advantage pretty straightforwardly. And now they're in this nice situation where all of their ults are just snowballing a little bit faster. Dip is going to get close to the blade, as is Sauna here. Beats available for both teams, but again, Kitsune Rush advantage. So if there is some sort of big cage fight, in theory, it should favor nuage as long as they don't get this Kitsune Rush disengaged. There's the Tectonic Shock to start it. Kitsune Rush back, beat over top. Later beat from Nasuki is available. Now they can push him back. Cage comes through, blade over top. Dip can't go anywhere with the blade, but he can get the frontline kills. But Kitsune Rush was still in play. And that's the danger. If you're gonna get a cage, you're gonna lock yourself in the cage with somebody. You have to be pretty confident you can win that fight. And if the other team has Kitsune Rush and you do not, it's very hard to win that fight. And that's the exact problem we see Ataraxia run into here. But it was a heavy use, right? Sauna's coming back with a blade here. A clear ult advantage. Sharp will get a pulse bomb part way through, but the rest of nuage a long way away. And they're going to start by trying to clear Sharp out of this right-hand side. Gala marking that. Dip's going to tiptoe on point. Rajaro's gone for it, but he's lost a lot of health. They're just going to shoot him down. Blade to try and clutch from Sauna. He comes through. Suzu is good. Sauna's forced back. The cardiac overdrive keeps Sauna at bay. And this ult advantage is for naught. Kaneo coming back with Kitsune Rush. If I'm nuage now, I want to hold forward. I want to hold close at the choke, bait that Kitsune Rush, and try and run away from it. The disengage. Tama has to run out first, though. Kaneo's held, and now he's using it to chase. The dash comes through. But actually, nuage have conceded all the space, but it means they're out of it. They lose their Tracer, which means they might give the flip. But the damage has been limited here, and Zirion's about to have Kitsune Rush advantage of his own coming back on this one. There's a window here where they have player advantage, but Sharp's back already. Tama can look for this engage. Kitsune Rush for Zirion. A chance to finish this one if they can catch him. Now it's a disengage on the other side. They're holding very aggressively here. Rajaro's going to try and slam out. They're chasing. They need to find a kill. Shockwave is caught. Gala is low as well. Desperate to finish these kills. They somehow get out. Sauna dashes out the other way, but Sharp will finish that one. But Kitsune Rush is good. Rajaro will die on point. And they flip it back. They flip it back. And we're getting to the next big wave of ultimates. One thing to note is Tama's cage has charged so much quicker than Rajaro's. So ult advantage remains in the hands of nuage here. Tama will be happy to drop that cage. They can trade blades. They can maybe even beat in it. Have to be careful not to use too much. But Shockwave's going to take a lot of damage initially. Shockwave has to get underground. Can't use that burrow to engage now. They're forced back. Sharp is getting pocketed on point. Dip's going to help with the touch as well. Now the engage comes from Rajaro. Cage is available if they want to drop it. There's the cage. They're locked in. Nowhere for Sauna to go. Dip got the blade, got the beat. They're using everything over the top, actually, and they're going to win the fight, but it ends up being expensive. I don't know if a beat was necessary. Honestly, not even sure if a blade was necessary, because there was no response, which means they're in control of point right now. But look at the huge swell of ultimates, both support ults and a beat. They have to do something funky here. They have to play for trades. It's going to be such an early beat. You need Dip or you need someone like Sharp. They need to find these trades. We engage, and Kitsune Rush are going to come in on point. Touches made by Sauna. They're going to try and chase that one out. Dip looking for the kill. Does get the kill. Can fight Gala now. They've lost Zirion in the main bit. Dip's going to have to run, try and get a health back. Sharp is still contesting. They've lost the main fight here. They're low on resources, and with that Malga on point, it's going to be hard to get rid of. Sharp can get one more touch. Does have recall. Suzu is forced. Pressure on Spakiri, trying to dance up and down. Tama is back. Now they catch Kaneo. It's not over yet. Sharp is all over them. Natsuki as well. It's a dogfight now. Shockwave's burrowing underneath point. Kitsune Rush comes through. That should seal it in theory. They just need to clean these kills. Sharp gets another one, but Sauna and Gala aren't done. They need to kill this Tracer. Sharp needs to find his final blow, but no, Sauna gets to the beggar. Can they keep the touches going? Yeah, they just get the flip now. They're going to come back. More pressure onto Sauna. Farah is back from Dip. Tama is so low. He gets focused down. Needs to find a stick and needs to find it soon. He knows Suzu is available, and somehow, some way, they've clutched their way back into this one. They're trying to lay down the damage. They need to get the touch afterwards. Dip back on the other side, and they can't touch. It felt like they had it. It felt like nuage had it. They were going to clean it up. They had the Kitsune Rush going on point. Tama was there anchoring. But Sorna and Gala, they just find the kills. They turn it into a dogfight. Rajaro back on the Doom. Ataraxia find themselves on top. But that was not a straightforward one. Not a straightforward one at all. And it actually feels like, especially you consider the overinvestment in ults from nuage in that previous fight, they really could have put themselves in a better position going into that final 99-99 situation. We'll move over to Shrine now. And again, this is a Lucio map. Historically, for Ataraxia, looks like they might do more of the same here. Will be a TP out of spawn. No Mauga this time. So, we saw a lot of the EMEA team struggle to solve this Mauga problem. Mauga Venture Genji it was, mostly against the Korean teams. This time with a Tracer Genji. Functions mostly the same. Venture just very strong right now. We're going to try and clear him out. Rock onto Tama. Early pressure. Tama's taken loads of damage. His Cardiac Overdrive is used only defensively. So a big reset now before nuage can make a true push. They might just try and swing anyway without it, but it means that Ataraxia have full control of the point. But Rock connects again. Dive comes in. Dip is in the backline, as is Sharp. They're trying to walk forward in the meantime. But Dip and Sharp slightly split from the heels. It will slow him down. Tama's needing a lot of pocket. Another Rock falls onto Tama. They force him back. They take him down. And they will be able to take this first fight. It really all just started from that initial chunk of HP. And they are going to go hold in spawn here as well. Trying to make it difficult for him. And now we've seen that dive swap come through. Early Rock isn't going to connect. Hammer over top now. Ataraxia in a little bit of a predicament here. They're all above him. They have to try and walk out. They will get out. Kitsune Rush nearly available for Zerion. He can drop that one to keep chasing. Rock won't find its target from Rajaro, and they are swarming him. Lamp has been forced. They lose Natsuki on the way in. They get the window off the point. The Pulse Bomb trade is good, actually. Catches... Saunas is denied. Sharp finds his target. And the pushback is good. And that's what you have to do against this dive composition if you're the SIG composition. You have to absorb that initial dive. Keep your key players, keep your Sojourn, keep your BAP alive. And then your repush is really good. Kitsune Rush avoided there as well. Kaneo held his window to a good time. Was able to use it off the point. Or off the Kitsune Rush, rather. Coming back now with Beat and Primal and Blade. Lots of scary ultimates, but Gala has Beat to give himself through some of them. A lot of damage on his walk-up. Suzu forced early here. Sorna looking for it. Flux now over top. They have to Beat to live it. So this Beat is used defensively. Rock is good, but Dip's going to keep going with the Blade. Defensive. Beat comes out from Gala, so they will all live. And Shockwave turns for kill with Overclock. Now they can walk on Tama. Tama doesn't get Primal in time. And they have to reset quickly here. Looking clinical from Ataraxia so far, and there might be one more desperate touch with Primal. It's going to be an awkward fight. They don't actually have any ults to deal with it on the side of Ataraxia. So we're going to try and hold forward. Tama's going to go over roof. Should be able to get the touch. Dip dies early, though. Tama can keep this one going for a while with Primal. Doesn't want to use that one until he absolutely has to, but he absolutely has to now. Will try and Primal then back in. Wants to try and focus down Shockwave. The touch is taken over by Sharp, so Tama can try and focus on finding kills. Natsuki has killed one. Tama is onto the backline. All over Kaneo. Kaneo lamps only now, though, which means Tama cannot get the kill, and Tama might pay the ultimate price. Will get taken down, but nuage are able to get the flip. They do get the trade on Kaneo, which means for pushback, for retake, we'll have to wait until Kaneo's respawn. nuage have bought themselves a little bit of time. Farah and Doomfist coming out now. Now, Farah's quite nice on this point. You can play around a lot of the high grounds, and we saw Farah's effectiveness of the Dallas Major as well. We're going to try and retake from Coast here. Dive comes in from Tama. Forces for shift out of Kaneo. Dip is going all the way behind here. Will be pocketed, and Sharp finds the pulse bomb. The lamp is late. Kaneo, no shift, no lamp now. Tama's going to take this opportunity to punch Shockwave massively out of position. They're also split now. They're also isolated. Kaneo is trying to heal Shockwave from downtown, but Tama's going to mark him now, which gives Natsuki, well, a 1v1 that he's not going to take. He's going to call in the boys. Safety first from Natsuki, and nuage in control of the point. It looked decisive for Ataraxia at the start of this, but that certainly isn't the case now. They're coming back with almost all their ultimates, though. Kitsune Rush still powerful. Barrage will be coming up very quickly for Dip as well. So, Rajaro's actually going to go Diva here. So that Barrage... Now, I imagine Ataraxia did call in the ult track. Will actually be a lot harder to get off here. Window comes out early. Are they going to try and go through it? They want to go through it. Tama has gone the other side of the window. Dip is above as well. Defensive beat comes out. Dip is still behind. He's going to run into Sauna though. Has to try and deal with that one, but Dip has the overhealth. Dip will go down behind, but they've stabilized on point. Zirian still healing him up. Meteor Strike nearly available for Tama, so a chance to do more. Beat is close. Trying to get poked out. Wants to get that dive. Has to be careful. Meteor Strike is used. They lose Natsuki, so no beat coming up. Will have Big Punch after this. Catches Sauna. Can he connect? Connects onto Shockwave as well. Needs to find the kill if he can. Can't find the kill. Ataraxia peel it, and now they can move themselves to point. But Dip is back. He has Barrage, but Rajaro is not letting him move. Shockwave will finish him with the rail. Ataraxia back in control of point. They've stabilized for now. Zirian can get the next touch. Will Suzu himself. TP's out as well. Sharp and Tama can take over touch. They're coming back. Natsuki dies again. Still doesn't have beat. So desperate for that ultimate, and that should seal it. No beat to turn the fight. Dip and Sharp can get a couple more touches. Barrage will be used, but Rajaro is there. And Ataraxia will win 2-0. But not straightforward, not straightforward. It looked like that shrine might have been a more straightforward one with how it started. They dealt with the Malga really early on. Normally what's difficult playing against the Malga comp is getting that early damage on the Malga. But actually, Rajaro and the rest of Ataraxia, they found a lot of that early damage. They never allowed Tama to engage aggressively. And because of that, the roll was on the back foot. By the time the big ults came out, they had all the ult responses. They needed their Ataraxia, but Flux very good in those situations. We'll get a Shockwave play of the game. And the scoreboard will update wrong, but I'm sure FACEIT will correct itself, as it always does eventually. Sooner or later, it'll be back. We can maybe take a look at the scoreboard while we wait for the next lobby to start. I don't know if it'll give us any great insights. Gala 21 and 2. That's good. Likewise, very high deaths on Zirian and Natsuki. It did feel like the backlines were getting traded quite aggressively there. A lot of that credit has to go to Rajaro, a lot of it to Sauna as well. But if I'm New Age, this gives me hope. We have to go to Hollywood, which is a bit of a pain, obviously, because it's such a strong map for Ataraxia. They always do well on it. But an opportunity again for New Age to play dive, and as we saw a little bit there, they did find success. They did find success. Even though it wasn't a map win, it was not too bad. We're going to get the lobby invite for Hollywood so we can jump straight back in here. I'll refresh this scoreboard. Where is it? Here it is. I'll refresh the scoreboard, and it should update momentarily. It is actually 1-0 to Ataraxia. They 2-0'd it in the end, but I thought the Malga Mirror was very competitive. Felt some crucial ult mistakes from New Age really cost them at the end of that Sanctum. And even then, they probably should have won the clutch, right? Ataraxia had to pull that one out of the bag.
Initiating match.
A few heroics from Sauna, a few heroics, well, from everyone. As we move on, it will be Ataraxia starting on defense first. Which means they'll start on double flex, you have to imagine still. There is an interesting question here whether the Malga has proven a problem. We never really saw too many teams try double flex into the Malga at the Dallas Major, so Ataraxia really have a bit of a monopoly on that knowledge of how double flex goes into that comp. So we'll have to wait and see how they choose to approach it here. Feels like it might not have pulled through the information correctly. And there we go. There we go. The HUD has corrected itself. Always have faith. Never lose faith. You need unwavering faith in the FACEIT system to update correctly. And we have that there. And it is going to be Sigma. So quite often we see Rajaro play Ram into this. I don't know if they're starting to see with an increased amount of Malga, the Ram is starting to lose its value as that sort of like anchor position, and Sigma might be better. We're actually going to see a Lucio Bap Sigma. So we've not seen a lot of Tama Sigma before. So we'll see how that matches up to Rajaro. Other than that, a lot of the same things. Kaneo will take some early damage. Gala playing this bottom left off angle. We'll see where they want to move initially. Sharp is going to run into this Torb on the far side. It's down to half HP. And it looks like they're going to rotate all the way behind here. So a retake through Cafe. They'll clean out some of these turrets. This will force them to high ground. They have to be careful that Sharp is still coming from the original spawn. And, well, Shockwave tries to move into that angle and Sharp shuts him down, which means Tama can start forcing point. Rajaro has to go match soon. Tama, meanwhile, can mark the Torb. And Sharp's just lurking behind. Pressure onto Kanale. Forces him back. They pushed all the way behind. Tama's coming from the other side. Sorna's in so much trouble. The Alari pocket comes through, but it's not enough. Gala's able to trade one. Gala and Rajaro are safe, but outnumbered. First tick will go through. Shockwave will be back soon. That Captive Sun is available. It catches Dip only. Can Gala find the finishing blow? There it is. Dip will fall. And now Shockwave's coming from behind them. Zirian and Natsuki have to try and rotate forward, but they're getting sandwiched here. Zirian has the lamp. Rajaro will take the elevator. Oh, sorry. Tama will take the elevator. Tries to find the trade, and they recover. They'll recover. It felt like nuage did a lot of the things right. They took the map away from Ataraxia, and that's what you want to do. Deny the angles. Put them in a corner where their comp's a little bit more straightforward to deal with. And they did that initially. But the trade from Gala, the Captive Sun, he found two in the end ultimately. But Dip here with the opening pick, and they're just going to take the high ground from him. Sorna trades one in the back as well, so every time they walk forward, they are losing one or two players. Zirian's going to have to lamp himself. Windows aggressively as well. Rajaro wants to flux the entire thing. The lamp is still there. The beat goes off, but it doesn't catch Zirian. The flux breaks the line of sight. The beat is no good. Gala is on the high ground. Executes Natsuki. And Hollywood continues to look good for Ataraxia. Big problem there as well. The window, the beat were used. Window didn't get the value they were hoping for. Beat didn't get the value they were hoping for. It felt like the window was rushed. It felt like they were all low, but they had a chance to stabilize after lamp to go again. Should have expected the flux, weren't able to. Now another Captive Sun nearly available for Gala. They're going to window early on the rotation, but Rock is good. Matrix allows everyone to get out for now. So actually, Sorna wants to chase the Dip. Will get forced out. And Gala again is lurking close. Playing this angle, we'll have a Captive Sun for this next rotation. No beat or anything to deal with it, so they need Tama to try and find a way to block it. They're going to rotate into him. Captive Sun will be popped. Everyone's going to get caught. Dip tries to slide through. Not in it. The lamp will explode here. Gala's going to clean everyone up. And the Captive Sun, it charges so quickly. It's so brutal against these Lucio-type compositions. A big Captive Sun from Gala sets Ataraxia up for a quick hold. Winston is the swap. Really thought nuage might have shifted to this, even initially out of the gates. Now they're putting all their eggs in that basket, but Shockwave has a Bob. Really annoying to deal with for the dive team. You see Sorna doing his best to mark Sharp. Here comes the Bob, just onto point though, so they can just clear top and ignore the Bob for now. Dip has used the overclock, but they're quite happy to trade. Tama takes one more aggressive jump, might be a little bit too more. Zirian's going to join him. Gala up on this high ground now. Rajaro is being forced back. Gala and Kanale have the double pocket though, and Rajaro finds that kill on the Kiri. The main source of healing is gone. Tama has no way to get this back. The beat comes through after Tama dies. It's 3v5. Rajaro will matrix everything. The pulse bomb's going to miss as well. And 41.1% is as far as they will get here. Rajaro's getting pocketed by everything. The window heal, the pylon heal, the Alari left click heal. Surprised they didn't start with the dive. Really surprised they didn't start with the dive. It felt like one that's been the area where they've had the most success against every team. Every team. I think when you think about their success against Peps, again it came playing dive into it. For Peps it was a Ram Lucio composition, but again these ground-based compositions, I feel it matches up really nicely into the double flex as well. Maybe even nicer, and it does swap into the Lucio. But they choose not to go for it, and now they're left in this tricky situation of what do they do? They need the fuller hold. Looks like it will just be Ram, Bap, Lucio. Sojourn for Dip. This is New Age's last game as well, remember. So they need to try and find... something to push it to map 3. If they can push it to map 3, it's Route 66. Then Dive is on the table. It's a bad map, I think, for the compositions that Ataraxia like to run. We've seen him do some sort of Diva, Kiri, Lucio type comps before. It doesn't feel like a great comp, especially versus the Winston Dive. But they need to get there. They need a miracle here. Because Ataraxia have looked clean so far. It will be Ram. It will be the high ground. Sigma, Bap, Lucio for choice. I don't know if they were swapping this once they see. I don't know if they were expecting a Ram comp here. We're actually going to go Ilari with it as well. Initially, we're going to have Sharp just marking the left-hand side. Dip trying to farm a rail on this rotation. Taking space can be difficult on the double flex here. Rajara's going to take himself onto the high ground. Gala is going to swing with Sauna main. Sharp needs a bit of help here because Gala has just got the entire angle to himself. Dip's going to drop down main. Needs to be careful. Rajaro is now taking so much space. He's going to get so much damage in this staircase. They're trying to play the angle. They do clear Rajaro now, and Tamil will drop on him. Slow onto Gala, forces him back. The pocket is coming through for Rajaro, so he can withstand all of this. And the rock is good. Catches Tamara at the end of his form. Dip needs to find a killer, needs to find a kill soon, but Gala is pushing that. Forces him back. They're all just on their own angles now. They need to try and find a kill. Pressure onto Gala. Gala will shift away. Dip's been focused down. They're just in complete control. Zerion will get one more touch, and Ataraxia, they have to deal with the ball. The ball can't even touch, and it'll be GG's. It'll be 2-0 to Ataraxia. It'll be swift. It'll be decisive. We'll get play of the game. Probably that Gala, Captive Son. The nature of the Captive Son. Gala. Gala will get all the play of the games. This is the one where they try to rotate. They get caught by the Captive Son. Everyone will get cleaned up. And then we'll even get the pocket. Even get the pocket to make sure Shockwave stays alive. And well, it ends up decisive. We can take a look here at the scoreboards for both. I think the second scoreboard will be significantly more one-sided. You can't quite see it, some of it's cut off, but Rajaro, 18-0, Gala, 18-0, Kaneo, 15-1, same as Sauna, 15-1. 9-3 for Shockwave. What was he up to? But it was definitive, right? I think for New Age, you have to look back across the series, and you have to think. They'll probably regret the comp they started on that Hollywood attack. Maybe they should have gone dive sooner or just started on dive. I think a real argument for that. I think you'll look at now ult usage at the end of Sanctum, where they use the cage, the blade, and the beat, and you just think, oh, could we have just used 2 here, or maybe even just 1, honestly. Ataraxia reset themselves up with a big ult advantage for that repush, and even then, the clutch, the dogfight at the end of Sanctum was winnable. Similarly on Shrine, there were opportunities to win. But Ataraxia's class shines through. I think player of the match is actually pretty obvious on this occasion. I think it just has to be Gala. Has to be Gala. Dominant on Hollywood. Takes so much space for his team with these aggressive swings. Doesn't get punished very often. Caused him an absolute nightmare. An absolute nightmare. We go back over to that Nepal as well. We was 21-2. Only 2 deaths. Only 2 deaths in the series for Gala. And that means New Age are going to finish, I believe it's 7. I don't think it's that bad. Yeah, it'll be 7-8 they finish. So now the question for New Age is, how does everyone else do? And this is a horrible situation to be in. Your fate is now no longer in your hands. You have to rely on the results of other teams. You need R8, Selters, Sovereigns, Quick Esports. You need 2 of these teams to lose. Selters are playing Quick Esports, and that could be a really swing game. Obviously, one of those teams has to lose in that game. But you need R8 to struggle. You need Sovereigns to potentially struggle as well. New Age have done what they can, and honestly, a pretty impressive FACEIT season from New Age, whether they make it or not. I think they're in the running. I think if we look at, I don't know if it can bring it up for me now. If we look at New Age's, maybe it won't bring it up for me. Maybe we don't have the technology we thought we had. But if you look at New Age's run, there's probably a few games in here where you look at it and you think, oh, could they have done a little bit better? Could they have won that one? It won't bring it up for me now, so We'll accept it. We can do it. We can do it through here. Let me find nuage. Here we go. Forward. Here we go. So yeah, Twisted Minds they lose to, Ents they lose to, SSG they lose to, all reasonable. Sovereigns, that one is probably the one that really hurts. Losing to Quick Esports, that's the one that hurts. Losing to Super Shy probably really hurts as well. Those are the games I think nuage will really look back on and think, could we not? If you took one of those series, you're probably fine. If you took one of them, you're probably fine. But there we go. Someone was asking me if Gala was top damage. He was not top damage. Rajara was actually top damage on that Hollywood. Gala was second, or third actually, third behind Shockwave as well. But really nothing to be sniffed at. 5k damage on your on one of your supports. You can make that work. You can make that work. I think what's often most impressive about Gala is, one, his captive sons are always good, or nearly always good, very high success rate with no ults, and because they charge so quickly, because he's doing so much damage and so much healing, well, actually, it becomes a really nice win condition into a lot of these dive comps, and into a lot of these brawl comps as well, like the Ram Lucio type stuff, or even the Malga Lucio type stuff. So, disappointed for nuage. Ataraxia really put themselves on track here, so now I'll also put Ataraxia at a 13-2 record, which I think can't be surpassed, but can be matched by Ents and Twisted Minds. So then we'll have to do a little bit of map math, essentially. I think, to be fair, maybe only Ents can match their record. Can they? Maybe Ents can't match their record, so maybe Ataraxia are second no matter what. I think with this, because they're plus 21 in maps, and there's 2 games left for Ents and Twisted Minds, they could go... And they're actually 27-4 now. So at the very most, Ents can match it, and then obviously if it goes to head, Ataraxia beat Ents. So I think that does seal. Thank you, Mr. Fish. I think that does seal. I think that does seal Ataraxia as second seed. Yeah, a few questions about R8 as well, because now they have played 15 and they're stuck on 7 and 8. I think some of it will depend on how tiebreakers work, because obviously, let's say Celtas lose their game 2-0, they'll go to -2 as well. So we'll need to do some bit of investigation into the tiebreak situations for these things, but we can figure that out when it comes to it. I'll figure it out for next time. But I think for this one, we're going to call it. We're going to call it. It was a nice, quick one. This page has actually been updated now. Oh, hold on. Well, it's updated, but it's broken. Never mind. So yeah, let's call it for this one. I think a nice, tidy series for Ataraxia to finish off what has been a very successful round robin. And the obvious goal now for Ataraxia is make sure you get one of those top 3 spots, or top 5 spots, I should say, to make sure you get one of those 3 qualification spots into the Esports World Cup. Ataraxia, they still have their own look. They've teched into some of the Malga as well. We saw little bits of that there. So we'll have to wait and see how it works out for them. But Ataraxia really put in a good campaign together so far, and seems set, maybe even destined to make that Esports World Cup spot. For nuage, it's going to be a wait-and-see game. So these next couple of days might be long ones, might be some very tense games that they're watching ahead, rooting for a few of their closely ranked teams to lose. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining me. I'll see you in the next one.